Yeah, good year. Welcome aboard.
Oh, 90%. A flight attendant put soap. They never. I know. That is so funny. You said the same thing I did. I was like, people were nice though. Oh. I'm sorry. Yes. I was gonna ski Saddleback, but
Not as much as some other.
that's true. Oh, you don't think so?
I haven't been up there on the weekend. It's always been.
Yeah. Is what?
We're just gonna have to shout loudly because the mics don't work. Because the stenographer's not here. 20 years ago. Something's just.
Test, test, test.
So guys, it seems like we may not have audio for this meeting, which means that we're all gonna have to use our outside voices inside.
Press the knob.
We can? Alrighty. I feel like I want to talk into here. It's just like so second nature.
Test, test.
Well, okay, I will call to order the February 11th, 2025 Auburn, Maine Planning Board meeting. I will start with roll call to my left.
Bob Hayes.
Paul Jacques.
Stacy LeBlanc.
Darren Finnegan. Tim DeRoche.
Okay, so before we get started, I will ask the board if they have any objections, and then we can also ask staff if we need to make a motion around this. But just from a housekeeping item, putting public comment as item agenda 9 and moving item agenda chair and vice chair to 10, just to allow public to have their comments, and then we can move to kind of housekeeping, which would be the chair and vice chair election, miscellaneous, and then adjournment. Do I have any objections to potentially amending the agenda? All right, so I guess at this time I would seek a motion to amend the agenda to move items 9 and 10 and swap them up.
So moved.
Right, do you have a second? Second. All those in favor? Okay, excellent. Motion carries.
We still do need to use the mics, assuming for the recording.
Oh, it'll be on YouTube? Okay, but just not internally? Okay. I don't know if you guys heard that. The mics are audio on YouTube, but it is not obviously in here. So it's going to kind of feel silly, but we'll do it. Alrighty. The next item on the agenda are the meeting minutes. So I would seek a motion to approve the meeting minutes, or if anyone has any amendments to them, we can also consider those as well. So,
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes
all
that
right.
you're asking for.
Second.
All right. Any questions to the motion to approve the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? All right, excellent. Motion carries. All right, next item on the agenda is the Stetson Road multifamily project. I will hand this over to staff.
All right, thank you. And go to more of a postponement. There's some suggested motions. Just to update the board, we have met with AR Development and their team, and they're going to eliminate 20 units and bring the total count down to 160 units total. That brings them down below the threshold in terms of the TMP, so there won't be any required traffic movement permit. But they will still provide a traffic study. It'll be part of their presentation that will come in front of the board next month. So there's a fair amount of regrading that has to happen with the buildings. Again, getting the traffic and the recommendations done. There's some alignment issues with the sidewalk. They're going to be working through those things. So, yep. So staff suggests to table the project till next month, March 11th. Postpone. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay, and does anyone have any questions for staff?
I kind of have a question about why we're using the terminology of table as opposed postpone instead of table to date certain. Just out of curiosity.
No, I appreciate that because I do feel like there has been a bit of pivot in terms of our paper. I agree with you.
I did write it on the memo about this, but just under Robert's rules and how tabling is only supposed to be used in like a temporary urgent business matter, and postponing a project more defers discussion and action to a future meeting. So you typically only use tabling if you're going to be using it in the same meeting, like you want to, instead of talking about it first, you'd want to move to it like last on the agenda, and then postponing is pushing it to like a further meeting date.
Thanks.
All right, so does anyone have any questions for staff? And if not, then I would seek a motion.
I move to reopen the Stetson Road multifamily project application for discussion.
Okay, do I have a second? Do I have a second? Okay, any questions, thoughts to the motion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? All right, none opposed. So motion carries. Do I have any other motions?
I move to postpone the Stetson Road multifamily project to the planning board meeting on March 11th, 2025, per the applicant's request.
Okay, any questions to the motion? Amendments to the emotion? The motion. All right, seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, motion carries. Excellent. All right, next item on the agenda is the Danville Corner Housing Development. Again, I will pass this over to staff.
Same thing applies here as postpone. Really, this is under section 60-307. It's the dimensional regulations. We're really waiting on the attorney's opinion on that, on how we're going to utilize the interpretation of the number of units that can be essentially built in the 7.2 acre lot. we're gonna make the recommendation back to the developer based on the written legal review. So we still haven't received that yet. So at this point, the consultant's waiting on that so he can adjust the site plan to meet the requirements of what the recommendation is from council.
Okay, do I have any questions for staff on this?
I do. So this is basically legal's going to give the final word on what Auburn will consider to be a multifamily versus not multifamily. Is that correct?
That's correct, yep. Basically on the density standards, there's the thought of, if we're looking at single family, the 4 units, if it's duplexes, 6 units, if it's multifamily, 17 units, and what the calculation is based on that. So we provided them some calculation ideas, and they're going to provide us some feedback on that.
Thank you, staff.
I guess at this point,
I think you have to speak into your mic for the YouTube.
I think we really needed to have this motion previous, but I move to reopen the review of the Danville Corner Road development.
Does anyone have any other questions for staff before we move towards the motion? I just want to make sure that everyone had an opportunity before you move. You're making a motion now, right?
I think you, for this earlier discussion, we had to have it back on the floor.
I'm not following you. I'm sorry.
I wasn't here last meeting, but I assume you're saying from last meeting. It was tabled last meeting. You have to take it back off the table for us to discuss it, for us to
Okay.
postpone it.
All right.
Right?
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Okay, motion carries. Let's reopen to have a conversation. Does anyone have any thoughts around this? All right, seeing.
I'll move to postpone the review of the Corner Road development to the March 11th planning board meeting to allow a legal review of density calculation.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Do you have any questions? All right, all those in favor? Okay. I think what people might be sensing a little bit is there has been a pivot in terms of how we are approaching our motions, and it's different than what I've been on this board for 6 years. It's very different today than it has been in the last 5 years. So I'm seeing, some heads nodding. We had already a question from Mr. Bergeron around it. So I would just ask for patience and tolerance as we move forward with this. Staff has delivered something different for us, and I think we're all just trying to acclimate to that as we are on the board today. So I appreciate if anyone has any questions. And again, I'll obviously have a conversation, or we can have a conversation with staff after, if they have now moved to 100% Robert's Rules of Order. As we are on the board right now, maybe there might be some training that should be involved for the board members if but we can do that in the miscellaneous items. We can have a conversation around that, but cool, great. Alrighty, next item on the agenda is the BWC Gulf Island Pond Auburn Solar Project.
Again, this project, staff is looking for a postponement. And then specifically, there's a lot of conditions around both of these solar projects, and really it reflects the same thing. Their financial surety wasn't clear, waste disposal, site stabilization plans. There's a real push to really conserving ag lands. I know both these projects are going to impact ag lands, and we really want a good, topsoil maintenance plan. What are they going to do to save the topsoil as they build roads into the site, things like that. So we just want to make sure it's very clear, and the developer has a clear path to what they need to do out in the field. So we're recommending, again, postponement, and they haven't yet provided a lot of these items that we've been asking for. So based on their workload and our response time, again, we're asking for postponement.
And the number one reason it's on your agenda today is because we had already posted it into the newspaper and sent out abutters notices, so we felt the best way to set this up was to have you guys postpone it and then have it come back at a future meeting.
Okay, so if we had already set out, like you had said, notices to the abutters and a public, why did we do that if we didn't have the information?
We didn't realize that they weren't going to be able to provide the information, and based on the timing between when the public notices were due to be out, based on the ordinance requirements, and the response between the time of staff doing the review and the plan review group, and then back to staff, and then getting the information out, and then connecting with schedules with the consultant, it just took a while to line up, and we were talking. This was a matter of days at that point, and they just couldn't respond to that at that point. So,
does staff think that they will be able to answer those questions you have by next month? 'Cause I see this one and the next one are both for the 11th. So those questions they haven't answered, do you expect they can by?
yeah, I feel relatively confident. I mean, I can't control 100% of it, but I feel relatively confident that they can hit this next planning board meeting.
Have you given like a deliverable date? I mean, do they know the date that it needs to be done by? And if not, then
we did provide them a deliverable date. That's correct. Yeah.
okay. So I'm looking at the motion. So it's a future. We don't need a date certain.
No,
'cause
this
we
one-
had that whole conversation 2 months ago about date certains. So again, this feels like another pivot.
Yeah, it should be March 11th. That's my
Oh,
bad.
okay. Oh,
The
March
other
11th,
one has
okay.
the right date. I don't
Oh,
know.
jeez. Okay. All right. I think we're working out some kinks here.
Are you ready?
I'm sorry.
Are you ready for a
Do you
motion?
have a question?
I guess you just mentioned notices went out, it was gonna be open.
Yeah.
Should we open it up to?
That's for them. I would have that conversation with them, with staff.
The agenda is very much stated that there would not be an opportunity for public comment on these items tonight, and also additional abutter notices were sent out that this was going to not be a public hearing.
Okay, so the second notice,
Yes.
the correct road, okay.
Okay, so do I have a motion? Any other questions for staff? Any conversation? We are allowed conversation, right? Okay, just checking.
Would you like a motion now?
Sure.
I move to accept the staff recommendation to postpone the review of the site plan application for the Auburn Solar Project to the March 11th, 2025 Planning Board meeting, at which time the applicant will provide a more complete submission for review.
All right, do you have a second?
Second.
All right, any question of the motion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries. Okay, next item on the agenda is the Soper Mill Brook Penley Corner Solar Project.
Again, same exact items here with the financial surety, the waste disposal system, site stabilization, topsoil maintenance and operations. We met with them, and they're confident that they can get these items completed and meet the March deadline. So.
All right, any questions for staff? Any discussion amongst the board? Okay, seeing none, I would ask for a motion.
I make a motion to postpone the review of the site plan application for the Penley Corner Solar Project to the March 11, 2025 Planning Board meeting, at which the applicant will provide a more complete submission for review.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion of the motion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? Excellent, motion carries. Okay, next item on the agenda, public hearing site plan review, Engine 2. So I will hand it over to staff.
I will give a quick overview, and then the applicants have also put together a presentation. So this is a City of Auburn project for our new Engine 2 fire station. Its location is 180 South Main Street, and that's in the T-4.2B form-based code district. Essentially, they are looking to do sort of a phased construction on the site where they will build the new fire station and then demolish the old one. So the old one will stay in use until the new one is built. And with that is some improvements to stormwater, as well as some site improvements, landscaping, and stuff like that. Need to add more?
Yeah, I'll just add that the, Fire Chief Chase, he did a great job. It's in your packets about the, we're asking for some waivers here on this project. And he did a good job of explaining about the operational requirements, for fire protection throughout the city, and keeping this existing fire station going is essential to their operation. So there's the site constraints, and I'm sure the consultant will get into it as well, but the site constraints is that there's wetlands in the back, so we can't push the project too far back. But the existing building's in the front, and then the new building will be in the rear. Keeping that going and doing that really, is important to the city and its fire operations. So I think Chief Chase is here, but and then the consultant's here as well for additional questions.
Okay, any questions for staff? All right, I see we have the applicant. Would you like to come forward? I'm sorry? If you'd, whatever's easiest for you. Right, from a Robert's Rules of Order, do they have to go to the podium? No,
no.
Okay.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Caitlin Sewer with Woodard & Curran. I'm the project manager and civil engineer with Woodard & Curran, and I have with me Julia Tate from Simon's Architects. So tonight, you're controlling it. Yeah, thank you. Just going to give kind of a brief overview of the existing station and then get into the details of the proposed project. We'll talk a little bit about the floor plan and programming and the architectural design, the site design, and then as John mentioned, there are a few waivers that we're asking for, and so we'll talk about those a little bit as well. So the existing station is Engine 2. It's on South Main Street, and it was built in 1952. It's the oldest station in Auburn. As it's fairly old, it is not up to current building code requirements. There are several things about the station that are currently not to current safety standards. The living spaces open directly into the apparatus bays, and there's no equipment storage or workstations or fitness areas. So lack of storage means that some of the contaminated equipment is close to the living quarters, which is not ideal. Oh, you can flip back. The station was also meant to accommodate a single sex with toilet and showers designed for males only. I mentioned there's no fitness room, which is really essential to the health of the firefighters. The existing day room and kitchen is outdated and needs to be modernized and upgraded, and there's currently no office space or conference rooms, so it's difficult to have a private conversation or find a place to meet with someone that may come in from the public. Yeah, thanks. So I've included here just some photos of the existing station. So the photo on the left is the exterior, and then the photos on the right just show the interior of the station. You can see the upper mid photo is the kind of workout area that's currently in the apparatus bay. To the right of that is some of the storage. There's a photo of the dorm rooms, so the dorm rooms are undersized, and then a photo of the bathroom and laundry area, which is right off of the apparatus bay. So the city has been evaluating its public safety facilities for several years, as I'm sure you know, and they've completed several studies and looked at different alternatives to upgrading this facility. And through those studies, the city found that the conditions of the original building are such that they can't be brought up to current standards by renovating the building. So a new station needs to be constructed. It's not financially worth it to invest in the current building. So they also looked at other sites for the building, and ultimately it was determined that this site is really where the station needs to be to maintain emergency response times. And another critical element of the project is keeping the current station operational during construction of the new station, which John mentioned. That's one of the reasons for the request for the waiver of the setback from the street. So that was a really critical piece of the site design, and will be a critical piece of the phasing during construction. So the new building is a 9,400 square foot building. It's one story with a mezzanine. It will obviously be built to modern standards. It will have a drive-through apparatus bay, which the current station does not have. And building to these new modern standards will improve safety for all of the firefighters. The site improvements include parking areas, landscaping, and new utilities.
Thanks, Caitlin. Julia with Simon's Architects again. Just to walk you through the floor plan really quickly, as Caitlin said, it is a single story and there is a mezzanine. But really you can see all of the primary programmatic elements on the first floor. The mezzanine is really simply for mechanical and storage and electrical closets. So you can see here the drive-through apparatus bay. There is a day room and kitchen on the lower right of the plan. Dormitories are all very efficiently lined together, but they do provide separate spaces. So there's also dedicated equipment and decon rooms and storage areas to keep things appropriately separated and to minimize contamination and to provide adequate safety equipment along those lines so that things can be appropriately reset every time there's a run. And then you can also see in the front lower left there's an office and a conference room for those public meetings, private conversations, and quiet study places to keep current on continuing education. There's also a small desk space and storage for EMS, anticipating that this is going to be used in some instances as a satellite facility. And in the rear, there's a fitness room. The next slide. And just to talk you through some of the components of the exterior of the building. It is within a residential setting. So the building is attempting to have both residential characteristics, but also, be pretty true about what it is in terms of the block of the apparatus bay. So the primary form of the more residential programmatic components being the day room, the kitchen, the dorms, really, those exterior materials all have more residential characteristics. So they're clapboard. You'll see their sloped roof. The context surrounding has a very varied roof form, and so this is found amongst some of the surrounding homes. And so the volume of it and the shape of it and the gesture, the materials all fit within to the surrounding context. But at the same time, the apparatus bay is proposed to be of ACMU block and metal panel. And even the fiber cement cladding, while it is more residential in its nature, all of these, are meant to strike the balance of fitting in, but be appropriately robust and have longevity that would be appropriate for this type of building. And one thing I will just highlight, pertaining to one of the waivers are the windows, you'll note. So we do have storefront at the primary public entry and the primary entry to the building. And then around the day room and in the dorms, we have more punched openings. In the front of the building, we are a little bit below the minimum commercial threshold for windows, but that feels appropriate in terms of the residential components, whereas the public components are primarily storefront and open glass. And then just lastly, I've already touched on the roof, so yeah, that summarizes the exterior components.
And I'll just mention too that when we first started working on this project, we started with a larger building footprint. You can't see it on this site plan, but as John mentioned, there are a lot of wetlands on this site, and for every square foot of wetland that you impact, there's a fee associated with that. So we, during the schematic design process, went through a lot of iterations to kind of right-size the building and really get it to like the smallest footprint that we could to still serve the operational needs of the fire department. So I just wanted to mention that. So the site design, you'll see the new building is set behind the existing building. It's kind of hard to see and I can't point it to you, but the existing building is under the proposed new driveways. So we are proposing 2 curb cuts here, which is one of the waivers that we're seeking, and that's to provide separate access for visitor parking and then the emergency vehicles and staff parking. So the wider driveway to the left is to accommodate those kind of wider sweeping turns of emergency vehicles, and then the driveway to the right is narrower, and that's just to provide in and out for public visitors. What else can I tell you? There is a drive-through apparatus bay, so the fire trucks will have the ability to pull in and then pull all the way through, whereas right now they have to back in. There's a landscaping plan that we included in the submittal, so there's going to be some screening, and then, of course, new utility connections for the new building. Yeah, thank you. So these are the 5 waivers that we're seeking. The first is the building setback. And as we've talked about, the really critical thing about this project is maintaining the current operations of the station during construction. And so during schematic design, we looked at a lot of different layouts for the building and ultimately settled on this one to try to minimize the wetland impacts and also provide enough room from the existing station so that it can stay operational during construction. This also allows for emergency vehicles to pull into the driveway and do testing that they need to do. Also, the turning into the site, the trucks kind of make large movements, so it being set back kind of provides that space as well. Julia talked about the window and door coverage. The 40% requirement is for commercial buildings, and then if you're residential, it's 25. So, part of this building is dormitories. So, we're falling in at 34, which kind of feels appropriate for this type of building. And we removed windows from spaces like storage closets and areas where, you don't need a window to provide more room for storage and that sort of thing. The parking location, so the parking in front of the building, we want to have that be right there, right at the main entrance to the building, and that's a requirement for ADA as well. And then the parking on the side would be for staff. So the waiver for parking is due to the location being in front of the building. The number of driveways as well, like I mentioned, we want to have 2 to keep it separate so that, public visitors are not conflicting with emergency vehicles and staff vehicles. And then the driveway width, I believe the requirement is 20 feet, and we are asking for 24 for the public access, and which is a very standard size for a driveway, and then 34 feet for the wider driveway to accommodate the larger vehicle turning movements. And you may notice the layout of the driveways that was based on running the fire truck, doing the turning movements through the site to make sure that there's adequate turning room on the site for those. So that is pretty much it. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, any questions for the applicant? Okay, seeing none, then I guess I will make a motion to open up public comment. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. If you are a member of the public and you'd like to come forward, go to the podium. You have 5 minutes. State your name and your address, and any questions, comments you have around this project. Okay, seeing no members come forward, I will make a motion to close public comment. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, motion carries. Closing public comment. All right, so any questions for staff? Any conversation, deliberation, thoughts amongst the board with this project? Quiet group today. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so 20 feet is standard in our ordinance. The turning radius is given, the vehicles coming in, coming out. 24 feet is something that we have seen in the past. It's one of the, it's some of it's depending on the amount of traffic, the type of vehicles that are coming in and out of there. Bigger trucks coming in for fire permits, things like that, may require a larger turning radius. There's no set answer for the difference between 20 and 24. I think it's, potentially part of the design and what they were thinking of the type of use that's going to be there, so.
So in a residential driveway, you would, if you only had it 20, you'd probably have a little bump out anyway for someone to pull in forward and turn out and back, where you have parking spaces here. Because it's in the T42B, right?
Yeah, there would be turnarounds there.
Yeah, you'd still, part of it would be more than 20 feet, just not the entrance, the curb cut, I should say.
Any other questions? Deliberation?
I personally don't take any issue with any of these waivers, considering the integral role this building plays in the preservation of life and property, the scale of the machinery, the turning radiuses used that they occupy just to get these trucks in and out of there. And that's just my thought. Personally, I think these 5 waivers are more than reasonable given the asset it is to the community and the necessary update it is for our fire department.
Agree. Nicely said, Tim. Okay. I'd look for a motion, more conversation, deliberation.
Okay, you ready for the motions on the waivers?
Sure.
We gotta move on all of them, right? We have to do the 5 waivers first, and then. Okay, I make a motion to approve the requested waiver from section 60-548B.1, building placement and configuration to allow a front setback of 86 feet, where a maximum of 25 feet is permitted.
All right, do you have any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, motion carries.
I make a motion to approve the requested waiver from section 60-548B.2, building frontages to allow window and door coverage of 34% where a minimum of 40% is required.
Do you have a second? Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, motion carries.
I make a motion to approve the requested waiver from section 60-548B.3, external elements to allow a parking area of 68 feet in width where a maximum of 60 feet is permitted.
Second.
All right, any discussion of the motion? All right, all those in favor? Okay, motion carries.
And I make a motion to approve the requested waiver from section 60-801, access management, to allow 2 curb cuts less than 150 feet apart.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Okay, motion carries.
And finally, I make a motion to approve the requested waiver from section 60-548B.3 and 60-607, external elements and general provisions, to allow driveway widths of 34 feet and 24 feet where a maximum of 20 feet is permitted.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, motion carries.
You're up. Okay. Okay. I make a motion that the proposal meets the requirements of sections 60-1277 and 60-1336 and approve the site plan by Woodard and Curran for the phased construction of a new 9,400 square foot fire station adjacent to the current structure. The new facility will include a double apparatus bay, dormitories, kitchen, fitness room, conference room, office space, decontamination areas, and other associated improvements at 180 South Main Street, tax map lot 211-289. The proposed project has met the standards pursuant to Chapter 60, Article 16, Division 2, Site Plan Review, and Division 3, Special Exception, with the following conditions. A, no development activity until any bonding or inspection fees are determined by the Auburn Engineering Department, and B, blasting permit in advance of blasting from the City of Auburn, Planning, Permitting, and Code Department.
All right, do you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, motion carries. All right, next item on the agenda is the workshop. A planning board will host a workshop to discuss the new director of planning.
Thank you, Chairperson LeBlanc.
Yep.
Wanted to take a minute tonight, as we recently announced that we hired a new planning director. I think this is a good opportunity for sort of a reset. We're embarking on the process of developing a new comprehensive plan. We've been working on some process changes. We saw some of that tonight. It's a great opportunity to work with a new planning director.
Do you mind speaking up just a tiny bit more?
Sure.
Okay.
A great opportunity to welcome the new planning director as part of that reset. We hired David Hediger, who's here tonight. David comes to us with, as a graduate of Farmington, and also holding a master's degree in public policy and management from the Muskie School of Public Service in Portland. From USA, okay. David has extensive experience in managing planning, permanent code operations here at Auburn. He'll be focused on planning. We won't have to deal with the fires of the code side the way that we have in the past. We're it's a very good process in working with the planning board and standardizing those operations. So we're very excited to announce David Hediger as our new planning director, and wanted to take this opportunity for you to meet him, and he will officially be starting on the 24th. So sort of a handoff for next month. David will be in charge.
Welcome, David.
I don't know that I have much to say other than looking forward to working with you guys and Eric, and I should be talking to a microphone apparently.
Yeah.
I was using my outdoor voice. So yeah, thanks again. Looking forward to working with Eric and his team and whatnot. You guys have a lot of things going on your plate going forward here, including the comprehensive plan and whatnot. So yeah, just looking forward to the opportunity.
Excellent. Alrighty, next item on the agenda, because we moved it around, is public comment. So if anybody is a member of the public and would like to come forward to speak, feel free. You have 5 minutes. State your name, address.
Evan Sear, 122 Granite Street. I was looking through the agenda packet items, and I noticed that there was an election for chair and vice chair, so I was kind of interested in what that was about, given that the board did those elections last month. I looked at the staff write-up. It appears that they're citing an issue with procedure with regard to not opening up nominations after the first nomination was taken. There are some suggestions on what to do in order to correct that. I just happen to notice that you guys are being asked to consider using a motion to rescind. If there is an issue with the procedure that was used, it's sort of important to note that Robert's Rule says if you make a mistake in your procedure but no one calls that to question at the time, that procedure stands. But more to the point is that a motion to rescind is actually out of order. So I think there are possibly some other things you could do to remedy the situation if you feel that you need to do something there. But a motion to rescind is out of order. And I did grab my copy. Let's see if I can't find it here. Just so you guys, I think what's hard is that you guys are asked to follow Robert's rules, but without training in it or without having a copy, it's impossible to follow because they're not available for free online. So the motions to rescind and to amend something previously adopted that are the motions to rescind and to amend something previously adopted are not in order under the following circumstances. It goes through A, B, and then C reads, when a resignation has been acted upon, or a person has been elected to, or expelled from membership or office, and the person was present or has been officially notified of the action. And so both of the members that were elected were, as you know, present at the meeting. So a motion to rescind is out of order. And so I just kind of wanted to bring that up, only because if the planning board believes that there's an issue, I would hate to see them go down a road that would create further issue and question by utilizing a motion that's out of order. I am going to go back to the idea, though, that at least I'm not sure who put this on the agenda item, by the way, who put this as an agenda item, by the way, because you guys are really the only ones that can put something like that on. So I'll assume that someone from the board asked for that to be on. But whoever is asking that a motion to rescind be used is recognizing that the original action carried. because you can't rescind an invalid action. So it just sort of leads more credence to the point that it carried. That's what happened. The board can certainly decide how they want to do things moving forward, and if they feel there needs to be a remedy. If I remember correctly, the votes were both unanimous, so I guess if under Robert's rules, the vote would carry anyway. I'm not sure why you'd want to go change it if it was a unanimous vote. But again, just trying to highlight that I can understand why someone might question what happened, but if you're going to redo something, you can't try to go correct a mistake by using a motion that's out of order. So, thanks.
All right, thank you. Any other members of the public would like to come forward? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment. Okay, questions for staff?
Yeah, a question was raised after the last meeting, and looking back at the tapes, raised through the manager's office and then the
Who
manager's
raised the question?
I think it was the mayor that raised the question to the manager's office, but it came from
You
the
think it was,
manager's-
or it was?
I think it was.
You believe
Yeah, I
it
believe
is,
it was.
or it was not the mayor? You think it was, or it is, or it was not?
I think it was the mayor
Okay, but
that
what
raised the
you think you're not
question
sure, okay.
to the manager, but the manager asked me to work with staff to correct it at the planning board meeting. I don't think that there was a motion to accept appointments, and I think because there was only one appointment, that it seems everybody on the board and the staff as well understood that to be a motion to make the appointment as well. But technically, there should have been a motion to accept appointments, and then among those appointments, and where there was only one for chair and one for vice chair, pretty simple motion to make the appointment out of the pool of
Sure.
people that were appointed.
So I'm just going to say this, and it has nothing to do with this specific item in general. This has been a frustration of mine for a while. We seem to not have any consistency when it comes to our procedures. And when we are questioned about our procedures, we tend to flip-flop based upon whomever is coming to us and try and amend whatever perceived procedure flaw may have happened. And what I've said before on the board and in front of staff is it doesn't make us look good, right? And we have gotten ourselves into pickles in the past. As Riley just mentioned earlier, is it a table? Is it you know what I mean? Like, so he remembered it being one way, now it's another way, and now he was questioning it. So as we proceed and we change our processes month over month, it's confusing the board and it's confusing the public. I think it confuses staff, right? I've been on this, doing this for 6 years, and this is the first time we ever did this. So I would have wanted staff to come prepared to say, this is how we are going to do it. And having to backtrack, and now we have the mayor questioning how it was done, and we have a member of the public questioning how it's done. I, as the chair, and I will ask the board as well, I feel like it puts us in a quandary. And I do not personally, I think we should follow the rules, but the rules cannot change month over month. And that is what I personally have been seeing, and I know some other board members have been seeing this as well. And personally, it cannot change because the mayor's asking us to.
Understood. We were just looking to make sure that we corrected by having the second motion to appoint, and I guess if the board doesn't want to do that, then, you know, the old motion will stand unless somebody challenges it, which is very unlikely. So.
Yep. And I'll leave it up to the board. I just wanted to have my 2 cents in, so I think I was put my 2 cents and maybe a little bit more in.
I would like to bring up irony. On this very topic, I took a photo of my page of Robert's Rules of Order here it is on my phone, and I was going to read it tonight. And the irony is, it's exactly what the member of the general public just read. I came to the same conclusion on paragraph C, and it's something I wanted to talk about. I'm just letting my voice be heard that in my own independent research of Robert's Rules of Order, I came to the exact same page. It's paragraph 35-6 and paragraph C. And I came to the same conclusion using the same reference that the public member did.
I think if it's a procedural thing, I think we should do it the procedural way. And if it was, I wasn't here, but it was a unanimous vote, I imagine we'll probably go the same way. So I don't see the problem with going either way, doing it or not doing it.
My preference is for you to bring it back to legal and ask them. I don't want to, we've got a member of the board questioning it, we've got a member of the public questioning it, we have the mayor questioning it. So I would like you to take this to legal, and I would like you to get a legal opinion about what we should be doing at this point in time, because I do not want this to be a rabbit hole, and then we have next month somebody else come forward and say, well, this is my interpretation. We have a lot of interpretations here. That's my personal opinion, but again, I'll open it up to the board and see if folks would like to.
I'd like to expound on what you're saying, Stacy. As I prepared for tonight's meeting, I was becoming more and more frustrated with some of the things you brought up, that there seems to be fluidity in expectation of process, and to the point where I've been wondering, should we have a member of legal at our meetings? And for a board member to start thinking, do we need to do that to maintain a decorum and an order because of the growing frustration? I just want to put that out there, that I'm sensing it as well, and it's frustrating to me too.
I think it'd be pretty expensive to have a lawyer here for 3 hours.
I don't deny that, but I'm just saying my thought process is.
I think what he's saying is, if the climate is what it is, then I think then the city has to support the climate.
And there may be some middle ground. If you, as a board, tell us you'd like us to get a legal opinion on that topic about the motion to make sure the process was followed, we can certainly do that, and we could certainly offer some legal training at a pretty soon upcoming meeting on these topics, maybe as a middle ground, instead of trying to have legal here at every meeting. But to do an update on legal training, we have a lot of new board members since the last time.
And just make sure your mic isn't, you have to press the button.
Thank you. A new member to the board, but having practiced
City of Auburn Planning Board Policies and Procedures. Yes, we can.
So I'll open up to the board to see what you, I'm up for anything. I just wanted to voice my concern about the genesis of this, and we can go from there. I'm up for anything.
I am ambivalent. We can go either way. We could re-vote or get a legal opinion. I think the result will be the same, so don't know how much time we're going to spend on here.
I don't necessarily want to revote because I think that could set a precedent. My opinion is we wait for legal to tell us if our original vote is binding or not, and then cross that bridge if and when we get there.
Second that thought. I think that with the two readings doesn't seem rescinding at this point, even if we go to Robert's rules, is not appropriate. So I think that we leave it as is. If we want a legal opinion, then so be it. I don't think we need an attorney here for our meetings, no.
If there's a motion to that effect, then that would help us bring that to legal.
So he's seeking a motion. You would like to seek a motion that we ask you to submit this for legal review?
That would give us clear direction to go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Yes, that would be appreciated.
I'd like
If that's where
to
you're headed.
I'd like to make a motion to request staff have legal review the election of the chair and vice chair from the January meetings.
Do you have a second? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, all those opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, next item on the agenda is miscellaneous items.
So for miscellaneous items, our first thing is upcoming agenda items. So at your next meeting, you will see the 4 projects that were postponed tonight. And the other project that we have in the pipeline right now is a application for a community center at 29 Hampshire Street. Don't know, was there any other things in the pipeline? You'll see that. And then Eric's going to give us an update on the comp plan.
So quick update on the comprehensive plan. The committee has met 2 times. They meet again at the end of this month. We signed the contract with the consultant earlier today, so that's moving. We'll be scheduling a meeting with the chair of the comp plan committee and staff just to prep for that first public meeting where the comp plan committee consultant is there. And we'll be moving forward with that process. So we'll have updates and be looking for input from the board through that process.
Can I give it more? We also elected the chair and the vice chair.
We did elect the chair and vice chair. The chair is here, John Cleveland, and vice chair is Dana Staples, which I'm sure a lot of you will recognize from his time on the board and as a counselor. Next meeting,
The 25th.
25th, February 25th.
They'll regularly be the 4th Tuesday of the month.
We do have the, on the City of Auburn website, boards and committees, we do have that committee up for the comprehensive plan, and we'll be posting the agendas and the schedules and minutes and everything there.
Not televised, but recorded.
Correct. They are not televised. We are completing minutes. We've been using a recording in order to complete the minutes. We can post those videos if that's desired at the after the meeting.
Because it's such a big project, it's a comprehensive plan, and a lot of participants, I think it'd be very important that people could tune in and not there for the public meetings entirely, at least be able to view discussion.
No, we can bring that back to the committee as well. We do have the ability to do that in this room. I'm not sure if we can do that right now in the room we've been using, but we could look into that.
All right, if nothing else, I would seek.
I have a question. I had some paperwork in my packet regarding student representatives from an application from Edward Little. Can you guys talk about that?
Agenda went out.
Yeah, sorry, that came after the agenda went out. I'm glad you brought that up. So we do have an application for a student member. It was right around 2016. I think the board created that role based on the council having a similar position. It's unique in that the planning board makes the appointment themselves. There's no appointment committee or council involvement in that. We do have only one applicant, and we gave you the application this month, but we would like you to consider appointing that person next month at the March meeting.
And what would their role be? Just passive?
Yeah, so they could participate in discussion as long as it's not an executive session. An executive session for the planning board is extremely rare anyways. They would not be a voting member, but they could provide feedback, answer questions from a student's perspective, and participate in the discussion as any other board member could.
Thank you. So we should anticipate that next month then, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Thank you.
I did see, it says on the bottom, please check which board or committee you're interested in, and there's no check mark next to anything.
I can make sure that it's complete for next meeting. We've been working with TJ Abaca out of Business and Community Development, and we'll make sure that application has planning board checked. I know that's the applicant's intent.
Could I ask one? Could you all, could you inquire as to whether the student is still interested? It looked like the application was dated May of 2024.
I did, and I corrected the email address on the application, but the email address was missing a couple of characters. So we had emailed them throughout the year last year, didn't get a response, and TJ Abaca was able to connect with the student in the school, and he is still interested as of last week.
Excellent, all good stuff. Okay, at this time, I would seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, all those in favor?
We didn't
Okay.
second.
Oh, second. Motion carries.
Point of order, ma'am.
I'm sorry?
Point of order, mom. Yep.
Call that one in.
We never adopted our new policies and procedures either. We could easily change it. But then council needs to pass. Yeah, and this is actually the presentation that you had missed, where Sally, her last stand.
Yeah, right.
That's where I'm saying this last year, we're supposed to be postponing these things and not tabling them. Sally